Alberta is the only province right now in Canada that has provided for this degree or extent of charter school or of parent choice.
That's Jerry Wilson, the superintendent of Foundations for the Future Charter Academy, a charter school that started 6 years ago because parents were worried their children weren't learning the basics in school. The school is publicly funded, but it has its own independent school board.
18, 19, 20. Whoa, perfect stop and give yourself a point. Fast as you can. Back ready position. Aretha's already done. Sherry's done. Carly's done. Good job. Eyes are back on the teacher.
Foundations for the Future offers a highly structured environment with plenty of order and discipline. Along with reading, writing, and arithmetic, respect and responsibility are part of the curriculum here.
Parents want the curriculum to be decided, and they want the teacher to teach that curriculum.
Foundations for the Future is a popular option. There are well over 3,000 students on the waiting list for next year, and that list is growing. The Calgary Board of Education has taken notice of that long list. This school year, the board opened the Traditional Learning Center, virtually a replica of Foundations for the Future Charter Academy. Callie Criley helps make those kinds of decisions for the Calgary Board of Education.
We took a close analysis of that and said, that's something not that we just could do, but we should do. And that's how the Traditional Learning Center came to be.
It's a real compliment for Foundations for the Future.
Anytime someone wants to imitate or mimic what you're doing, there's this part of that is flattery to you, I guess.
But there's a concern simmering. The CBE could someday put Foundations for the Future out of business.
Charter schools have to be different from. We have to offer an alternative, or there's no reason for us to exist. And so that's one of the key things.
New Brunswick not only denies...
Outside looking in, Albertans are living the dream William Forrestal has for education in his province, New Brunswick.
Choices here in New Brunswick are dismal. Compared to the rest of Canada, they really don't exist. There's French immersion, and that's it. Other than that, it's a one-size-fits-all model for New Brunswick parents, and that's not the case for the rest of Canada.
At the University of Calgary, Lynn Boisetti has just finished a study on how and why parents choose the schools they do for their children. She says having a choice raises the standards.
What choice does is it does create a competitive system where schools are going to have to start recruiting students. But the concern from people, researchers in terms of school choice is our fear about what are the inequities, so that this school that is able to attract more kids, attract more resources, get extra funding from partnerships, what happens to the school that's left behind?
And what does happen?
Well, that school has to find out ways to become viable, or else it will be closed down.
A case in point, Alex Ferguson Elementary. 2 years ago, it was considered for a list of schools to be closed in Calgary because of low enrollment. The arts-based curriculum has attracted students from outside of the neighborhood. There's now 123 students at the school, and it's no longer on the list to be closed.
I made a new friend today.
Carolyn Brown is happy with the choices offered by the public school system in Calgary.
When people ask us how do we like Calgary, it's one of the things we tell all of our friends about. The school system here is great, and everybody is really committed to it.
Lori McNaughton, CBC News, Calgary.
I was so impressed, I couldn't believe it.
That report is part of a special CBC series airing this week called Learning Curves, an in-depth look at education in Atlantic Canada and how it compares to us here in the West. You can find more on the CBC website, cbc.ca. And now to a special class at Thorncliffe Elementary School today, where students are learning more than their ABCs this week. They're learning about manners and etiquette. CBC producer Rosa Huang sat in on the class today.
In this classroom, today's lesson plan starts with a proper handshake.
Look at me, look at me. Good.
Proper greeting.
Did I hear a smile in that? Good afternoon.
And proper table manners.
You're welcome.
It's a week-long course that teaches students about etiquette and respect for others.
There you go.
The first of its kind for a Calgary public school.
You're welcome.
9-year-old Kaylee Baker's getting the message.
Respect means that you should respect your elders and you should respect other people.
The course is taught by consultants from the private sector. It's part of a new health curriculum Alberta Learning launched in September. Educators hope this will give students the tools to battle bullying, school fights, and other conflicts inside and outside the classroom.
When they get into a situation, whether with a bully or an uncomfortable situation where they may feel unsafe or uncomfortable, that they have confidence to be able to handle the situation better.
Course instructors say things like good manners lead to secure children.
I think it could help them because they can understand how their actions affect others and how they can say, I don't like the way you're speaking to me, or no, I don't like the way you're treating me, or I'm just going to turn around and walk away.
Kaylee, told you.
And for Kaylee, it's a lesson she says she can take with her into adulthood.
I think it's important the way how we grow up if we don't learn this stuff.
Parents, teachers, and students will evaluate the success of the course when it's over. If successful, other schools may adopt similar programs. Rosa Huang, CBC News, Calgary.
Coming up on Canada Now, more on our city, from a controversial cabaret show to your latest weather. Please stick around. And welcome back. Now, if the kids are huddled around the TV set, you may want to shift them out of the room right now, because we're going to look at some pretty cutting-edge stuff on Calgary's art scene. There's a new cabaret performance in town, one where men and women talk about, well, their private parts. It's called Cocktails 2, Mr. and Misconceptions. Lorna Sandberg has a preview.
When I was a little boy, all I knew was that it was valuable and it was mine.
It goes by many names.
Package was what that I heard. Well, cock, I mean, that's in the title, right? So that can be a big rooster or it can be something else.
My ball jerk reaction was too clutch.
Whatever you call it, it's center stage at a new cabaret called Cocktails 2, Mr. and Misconceptions.
The first show was men talking about their stuff, and in this show we have women talking about men's stuff. And then we also have men talking about what women have.
You want to do what? You want me to put it where?
It's a cabaret where penis and vagina meet, a place to talk about how men and women have different ideas about Mr. Willie.
We found that the humor is very different, you know, where a lot of women seem to be very issue-oriented, and guys just want to tell stories and have a laugh. This is kind of a hypocrisy-free zone. It's one of the fringe benefits of working at an all-night porn store.
There's a lot of gags in Cocktails, too, but the cabaret also tackles controversial issues.
It's the whole issue of consumerism. It's not just pornography. It's that people say pornography is bad, you know, and it breeds society's ills. But it's not the pornography. I mean, pornography wouldn't be there if people didn't want it.
Foul language, raunchy scenes, but there's more going on here.
I think that it's done to raise issues, to make you question. When you hear it, you go, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But in the next moment, the actor is saying, oh, that's bad. Can't go there. So it's really pushing the boundaries. Here's your change. And he's like, and I'm like, why are we whispering?
Dialogue that titillates, and the actors hope educates.
We're talking about psychologically healthy women and men talking about each other.
Some of our religions teach us that this body is bad. I don't know whether it's control or what, but I think that that's the point. We've been taught that our bodies are bad and dirty. And I think that's the thing that we have to kind of come to grips with.
Lorna Sandberg, CBC News, Calgary.
Very dramatic.
And the show opens tonight at the Pump House Theatre. Now, to another favorite Calgary topic of conversation, here's Ian Black with a look at the forecast.
Well, David, thank you very much. Nice mild day, made it up into the double digits. Still on the mild side tomorrow, perhaps not as mild as it has been, but then the temperatures will fall back. Let's take a look at tomorrow's outlook. We should be up around 7 degrees, I think, and increasing amounts of cloud. There might be some gusty winds earlier in the day south of town, as there are as we speak, but I think tomorrow those will start to drop off. They still might get into the double digits in the extreme south, too, but I think the trend eventually will be for cooler air, which is still lurking We're getting these waves of wetness and pushing into the coast of British Columbia. There's another one just off the shore, and ahead of that, mild air is blowing in. But eventually, this whole thing will just slide in, and the cold air that's wrapping around will be yours to enjoy or put up with, depending on your feeling about cold air. And that comes a little bit down the road. Speaking of cold air, here's a punch of cold air right through the central part of the country, which will graze by parts of southern Ontario and southern Quebec, helping to energize this east coast storm. Here you can see some showers perhaps to the north up towards Edmonton, but I think for the most part fairly quiet in Calgary and areas south. Some gusty breezes from time to time, but that should diminish. As we have a relentless push of rain, one wave after another, into British Columbia. It's been a while, but now it's happening. And so they're going to turn wet, and that will have an effect on your weather too. It's pretty quiet. A lot of clouds in through southern Ontario. You can see this storm just now beginning to energize through the Maritimes, and they will see snow and rain and wind. It will be just a nasty day through Atlantic Canada tomorrow. Here's your forecast, though. Well, we'll call it partly cloudy overnight. The low temperature gets down to 0. Winds will be confined to areas well south of town. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Tomorrow, we'll call it cloudy with sunny breaks. High temperature will be about 7 degrees, so that's still a little bit above normal. But you'll see the trend here for temperatures to fall down as that trough digs in. Look for generally a mix of sun and cloud here, not a lot in terms of precipitation. That's your weather.
Thanks, Ian. And now, here's what our friends at CBC Radio are working on.
Thanks, David. I'm Jeff Collins, and tomorrow morning on the Calgary Eye-Opener, Coaching the Coach. The president of Toastmasters International is in town. We thought we'd ask him to offer a little communications advice to the head coach of the Calgary Flames, Greg Gilbert. That's tomorrow on the Eye-Opener. On Wild Rose Country between noon and 2 o'clock, Leslie Beck and her new book, 10 Steps to Healthy Eating. And on the home stretch between 4 and 6, travel columnist Deborah Cummings with a new way to get from Alberta to Arizona this winter. That's all coming your way on CBC Radio 1, 1010 on the AM dial in Calgary.
Thanks, Jeff. And with that, we must say goodbye. I'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, good night.